right, so I'm right by Rand's house/home office, and looking forward to having a chat with him. I've known him for probably over 15 years or so now, so I'm looking forward to this chat and hope to share it with you guys soon. Rand,
Barry,
thanks for doing this.
great to see you, man.
This is amazing. I mean, I've known you probably for over 15 years now, right?
It has been a long time, basically my entire adult life.
That's true. We're about 6 months of age apart, I think.
Yeah.
I think I was born in 80, you were in
79, yeah, wild.
So we've known each other for a long time. It's amazing how your career has, or your imprint on the SEO community has changed and grown, and how much you've done for the community. So before we start, thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, man. And likewise, yourself. I don't think anyone's contributions to this field are stronger than what you've done.
I don't know about that. Anyway, pretty much everybody who's watching this probably knows who you are. If you don't, you probably shouldn't be watching this.
I don't know about that. Let's hope there's people.
But anyway, can you just tell the people here who you are?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So I started a company called SEOmoz way back in the day that became Moz, originally founded as a consulting business, and then it became a software startup, raised a bunch of venture capital. I was CEO for 7 years there, and then left. I stepped down, was there for a few more years, left last year and started a company called SparkToro, which is, as we were discussing before the interview started, just getting rolling. So we're just about to roll out the beta of our software, which is around not SEO, but audience intelligence.
Right. And you're probably one of the most transparent and visible people in the community, or that I know. I mean, you wrote this book, which is, I don't know if it's in the frame there yet, a little bit over there.
Oh, yeah.
Lost and Founder.
Lost and Founder, yep.
It was the most transparent book I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Even early on when you started your company, it was all about transparency.
Yeah. We published our financial numbers all the time.
Yeah.
You know, we tried to make it so that folks could both follow along in the journey and also learn from our mistakes.
And no regrets.
Plenty of regrets, but yeah, I don't think any related specifically to transparency.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Anyway, the things that the community has learned from that transparency be unbelievable. I think the things people have learned in the VC and startup world, especially for your book, it's been unbelievable. So thank you with that again. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the history. So I think we both got our start in SEO by obviously being curious, which led us to SEO forums.
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that?
I mean, that was all there was back in the day, right?
Yeah.
2001, 2002, even up to 05 or 06, right? It was basically the blogs and the forums. You'd sit there and hit refresh and subscribe to these updates. And
right. It was just like waiting for that Google dance. Everybody's cheering around. Oh, the page rank numbers are updating.
One of my favorite stories was, I don't know if you remember the very early days of, like search engine watch forums and SEO chat forums, and was it Digital Point, all these kinds of places. My avatar, the little visual graphic that I used, was a picture of Jon Stewart from The Daily Show at the time.
Wow. Okay.
So Danny Sullivan is watching television somewhere, and apparently he had never seen The Daily Show, and he sees it and he's like, oh my God, that's the dude from my forum. That guy must be commenting on my forum. And he wrote to me and was like, okay, I figured out that you're not actually Jon Stewart, but...
oh, wow, because Danny's a big Jon Stewart fan, I think, today.
So. I think eventually became one, yeah.
Thanks to you, there you go.
Maybe, thanks to me. I'm not sure about that.
And Danny invited you to SES New York, was your first
time? Yeah, that's where we first met, 05, I think?
05. Okay, could be 05, definitely. So yeah, it's interesting. And you wore your famous yellow shoes, which you didn't wear today for me. You're wearing sandals instead.
It is warm in Seattle.
It is, although it's not humid here. It's great.
No, I mean, compared to the rest of the country, this is where you want to be in July.
Yeah, I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt. I wear long sleeve shirts wherever I go. I don't know why. My wife always complains to me, wear a short sleeve shirt, wear shorts. I'm like, you don't want to see my legs or arms. It's too pale.
I don't know. I think the Semitic forearm is an underrepresented portion of sexy America.
Maybe, then I win big. So, but it's great. I mean, again, that conference and the SES conferences have really helped project a lot of our careers over the years. We learned a lot, and that's great. And then one of the other memorable points in my mind with you is sitting on a circle bed in Hugh Hefner's suite in Las Vegas at a Yahoo party.
Back in those days, I mean, the search engines had so much money.
They just threw.
They were just throwing it around, right? They were basically like, "Look what we can do. We'll invite all everyone to come party at our expense."
Yahoo rented out Great America or something. Remember that?
It was insane.
Now we get nothing. We don't even get a Google dance anymore from Google.
Yeah, I think. Well, now that they make, I don't know, 118 billion. Did Pete say?
It was insane.
Like that, yeah.
Anyway, so it's been fun. And you obviously started SEOmoz early on in 2004, 2003.
Yeah. So it was my mom, Jillian's company, who I think you met
Yes.
Jillian a couple times. And so she had been running this small business marketing consultancy for 20 years, right, from 1981 to '01. And I joined. We sort of floundered around for a long time. Never got good at the web design and development business like Rusty Brick did, but switched over to SEO consulting. And that's when I essentially was like kind of managing a lot of the day-to-day work and efforts. And then in 2007, when we launched our software and that kind of took off because of the popularity of the blog, that's when I became CEO.
And it's all about that transparency. You wanted to communicate and give away information as much as possible, which led to the community, which led to obviously the software doing so well, which also led to kind of what I thought you wrote in your book about your big break around a story written about you, I forgot where, in some Newsweek.
Yeah.
And that led to a lot of exposure for the company.
Yeah,
overall.
It was huge. So the Newsweek piece ended up being mostly press branding exposure, but I wrote the Beginner's Guide to SEO when I knew that article was coming out. And that Beginner's Guide to SEO probably made SEOmoz one of the leading destinations on the internet for SEO information, and made us crazy visible, got us tons of customers over the next few years.
And it still is. I mean, that's the number 2 ranking for
SEO. Yeah. Brittany Muller just, I think, published a new update to that earlier this year.
I think she's updating sections of it as she goes, I think.
And it's, once again, I think probably the best resource out there for that sort of thing.
So you made Moz grow very quickly, very fast. Or I'm sure it's not all your credit, of course.
I mean, certainly a big part of that is the fact that the SEO industry was growing super fast, right? We rode an amazing wave from 2007 until 2013, 14.
I actually built an SEO product called Google Count way back in 2003 using the Google Search API, which they discontinued.
Yeah.
Google sent me a letter saying you cannot use the word Google in your name. So I changed it to SEO Count. And then all these Digital Point came out with a free version, and then you guys came out with your software, which is unrelated to that. It was just interesting because tools were popping up left and right, and you guys did it really nice. You polished it, you made it a nice suite, and you had the community behind you, which was amazing. So again, it's just amazing to see what you've done with the company, and you've grown it and grown it and grown it. I think also transparent in your book was about the need to I felt you wrote there was like the need to constantly do better and better and better every year, which led to kind of depression on some levels. Yeah,
there's a certain intensity, right? When you raise institutional capital, and I know you're semi-familiar with this world, right? That the requirement is not just successful in terms of a profitable, growing company. The metrics for success are way, way bigger than that, and anything that takes you off course of 50 to 100% year over year growth and tens to hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue.
It just seems unrealistic at some point. Like if you're making serious profits, why is that not good? I never understood that. I don't understand like that mentality. I guess it has to be Google has to keep making profits. Startups have to keep making profits.
It's just the amount of capital seeking growth, right? So if, one of our investors, right, was Foundry, who raises funds that are somewhere in the $350 million range. So, if Moz was spitting off $5 or $6 million a year, even if they were getting every single dollar of those profits, it doesn't move the needle on the fund. Right. Like their investors, their LPs, the pensions and, university endowments and all these kinds of things that put money into that asset class are totally uninterested in having a 2, 3, 4% return, or even having 50 investments that are returning a few $1 million a year, right? They're looking for that one Google, one Facebook, one Salesforce.
Right. And when you took that, I guess that first, VC funding, I'm not sure what the classification is called, seed funding or whatever it is, you kind of knew that beforehand, or you didn't really understand that?
I think there's a difference between
because it's exciting,
knowing it technically. I think that's the big problem, right? I knew technically what I was signing up for, but I did not have a full understanding of it, right? I hadn't experienced it. I think it's like having kids, right? I don't have kids, so I don't really know what that's like. But a lot of parents that I talk to are like, okay, I knew it would be a lot of work. I did not know it was going to be like this. And I think venture capital is similar in that way. I knew what I was getting into technically on paper, but not in terms of how it would impact kind of my entire life and professional career and what Moz, sort of the guardrails of what Moz could and couldn't do.
It's a little more than just, I have kids. It's a little bit more, I would imagine, because I have a company also. And I'm like, all right, I feel responsibility to make sure my kids are financially sound, they have a good future. But I also feel a responsibility to the employees of the company that their families could support their needs and do well and also have some time with their family.
Yeah.
You had hundreds?
Yeah, so Moz, I think today is maybe around 200-ish people. I think it was as large as 210, 220. And
that's a huge responsibility. And on top of that, you also had to satisfy the needs of the people you had invested in your company.
Yeah, the investors, right.
And I don't know how you would balance that. Me alone, just, thank God my company does well. Profit-wise and everything.
Yeah.
I could pay the employees and don't have to worry about it so much. Of course, you never know. But just doing that payroll every week, I click that button. I'm sure you did it when
yeah, sure.
too.
Yeah.
Clicking that button is like, all right, it's a routine, but at the same time, it's like, every time I do it, I say, thank God we have the money to pay the employees.
Yeah, knock on wood, right?
And I don't think people think about it that way, but it's really like another family. You feel responsibility to that, and all of that responsibility and having that layer of concern about, I guess these guys breathe down your neck about, make that 2 times, 3 times, 20 times, 100 times.
Well, and there's a little bit of a different calculus that goes into it, right? Because from their perspective, you are one of 50, 100 investments that they're going to make in a 4 or 5 year fund. And they basically are looking for, the traditional venture math is, 95 of the 100 companies that I invest in are going to make me nothing. Right? 2 or 3 are going to do pretty darn well. And then 1 or 2 will probably make the whole fund.
That unicorn. Right?
And so essentially, they're just kind of watching out, right? If you and I are venture investors, we're just kind of watching out for, is this the 1 or 2? Or does this have a shot at being the 1 or 2 out of 100 that's going to truly be successful? Because that's where I should be really investing all my time and energy and help.
And is Moz going to do that, or you don't?
I don't think it.
No, I don't think
it certainly doesn't look like it at this point, right?
So right now it's
Moz
just a profit engine.
And not even that really. So Moz is probably 60-ish million in revenue this year, and maybe 5 of that will be profit, which is nice, right? If you and I own that company, we're cheering, we're having a big end of year party. We're very, very happy running that company.
Yeah.
But as a venture investor, you're kind of like, you're a little stuck in the middle. Like, I kind of wish you'd either shoot for the moon and get that growth rate really up there, or just die and go away so that I can focus my time and energy on other companies.
Interesting. It's a whole interesting world.
Yeah, very, very different from...
And you left Moz.
I did, yep.
Can you talk a little bit why you left?
Yeah, I think it was semi-voluntary.
Right.
But, basically I felt that my contributions to the company were no longer in tandem with what the leadership wanted to do. Right. And so I think it's no fun going to work somewhere where you feel like you're not having the impact that you want and the company isn't going the direction that you want. And I certainly had all sorts of years of challenges around people and leadership issues there. So I left and started this company, SparkToro,
right,
which raised money in a very different way.
Right, that's what I wanted to get into right there. So how would you do it? So obviously you lived through it and now you're doing it differently.
Yeah,
so I know
very
you sent
differently.
out a note to a bunch of friends and colleagues and stuff about raising money. And it was a different, more transparent way of doing it, I believe.
Yeah, so basically, so there are some restrictions, right? The SEC will not let you say like, hey, I'm raising money and put out a blast.
Okay.
I could email you privately and say, hey, Barry, like I am starting a new company and I'm raising money, but I can't publicly solicit, only privately. So I emailed some friends and colleagues and I said, hey, I'm looking to do a very creative raise. Do you know anyone who might be interested? A lot of them said, raise my hand, I'm interested. And so I did not have to do a tremendous amount of work around that. I would say it was a 3 or 4 month close effort last year. After I left Moz, I had a fairly smooth process. I raised money almost exactly a year ago. And Casey Henry and I started this company, SparkToro, with 36 essentially angel investors who all own units in an LLC.
Right.
And they get distribution. So
kind of like building, like going into partnership in a building.
Exactly. In fact, funny enough, this is how venture capital firms are structured, right? They are all partners in an LLC that distribute their winnings, their profits. It's how a lot of law firms are done. So kind of an old school way of doing things, but very unusual in the technology sector.
Are you looking for that big, being that one massive unicorn, or just making a nice company that can sustain the employees? And
I think, I'm not taking the unicorn idea off the table, right? Who knows? Maybe SparkToro launches, maybe it's something that has tremendous demand. It turns into a really exciting company. I'm personally pretty against building a large company in terms of a huge number of employees, but maybe it'll be very successful at 40, 50, 60 employees, and I think that would be fine. Casey's feels the same way. I am not optimizing for that, though. I am not saying I think to do the venture capital thing, you have to say, I know that 9 times out of 10 I'm going to fail. I have a 90% chance that this thing goes under. And I'm going to go pedal to the metal to try and be the 1 out of 10. That's not us at all.
That's awesome. It's very, again, I go back to this, is like, why do we build these companies? Not to make a few people rich, but to make the people who are working at the company, comfortable enough to live a healthy and happy life.
Certainly. And I think this goes to a little bit of a philosophical thing around, how you want to contribute to the world.
Right.
I am not a huge fan of vast wealth discrepancy and high concentration of wealth.
Right.
So building $1 billion company that sort of becomes a monopoly and sucks all the air out of a market, that's not me. That doesn't excite me. Building a company that enables a ton of small businesses to do better at what they do, enables a ton of consultants to be more successful at what they do, that is very interesting and exciting to me. And if that creates a company that's worth a lot of money, great, fantastic.
That leads us right into